She saw the symbol on my arm, then suddenly kissed me. The heavy steel doors of the interstellar station Orion's Edge opened with a soft hiss. Commander Elias Grant stepped forward, his black boots clicking on the polished metal floor. His sharp eyes scanned the massive hall. Tall windows showed the stars outside, shining in the blackness of space. Ships from dozens of alien worlds floated beyond, their colors and designs unlike anything from Earth. Elias adjusted the collar of his dark blue uniform. The Earth flag rested on his shoulder, and a small patch on his arm showed the old family symbol in orange flame curled inside a circle. He never thought much of it. His grandfather had it first, then his father, and now him. It's just a family mark, he believed. He was the first human ever invited to a high-level peace summit between the 7 galactic powers.
Now most of the alien races
Still saw humans as newcomers in space, strong, emotional, and unpredictable. Elias knew they didn't fully trust his kind. The room grew quiet as the council began to gather. Massive alien figures entered the chamber, each one unique. Some were tall and slim, glowing softly with light. Others had stone-like skin or long floating tendrils. And then she walked in. Lady Thalira of the Valerie moved with calm grace. Her skin shimmered like silver under the lights. Her long hair floated behind her, soft and dark like the night sky. Her eyes, deep violet and sharp, fell on Elias for a moment. She tilted her head, curious. Elias gave a polite nod, but she didn't return it. Instead, her gaze dropped to his arm. For a split second, her expression changed. Her lips parted. Her eyes widened. But then, as quickly as it came, the look vanished. She walked past him without a word. Elias frowned. Strange, he thought, as the meeting began. Ambassadors took their seats around a large circular table. Holograms floated above it, showing star systems, maps, and treaty plans. Elias sat quietly, listening. He wasn't given much time to speak. Ears still didn't have a strong voice here. During the talks, Elias noticed Thalira looking his way again. Not often, just brief glances, but always at his arm. After the meeting, Elias walked alone through one of the station's long glass tunnels. He liked the quiet, and the view of the stars helped him think. Suddenly, a soft voice called out behind him, Commander Grant. He turned. It was Thalira. She walked slowly toward him. No guards, no assistants, just her. Yes, Lady Thalira. She didn't answer right away. Her eyes went to the symbol on his arm again. It was visible now, his uniform sleeve pushed. Up from the heat of the room, that mark, she said quietly. Where did you get it? Elias looked down. It's just an old family symbol. My grandfather had it, and I kept the tradition. Her voice turned softer. Do you know what it means? Elias gave a small shrug. Not really. In Earth stories, it means something about courage or inner fire, but to us, it's mostly a memory. Thalira stepped closer. Her violet eyes were intense now among my people. That symbol is sacred. Elias blinked, surprised. Sacred. She nodded. We call it the Flame of the First Light. It was once worn by a legendary warrior race, long before the current age. From history, we believed they were lost. Elias chuckled lightly. Well, I don't feel very legendary. Suddenly, Thalira did something completely unexpected. She stepped forward, placed her hand on his arm and kissed him. It wasn't romantic. It was gentle, calm, respectful. Elias froze. He didn't know what to say. He just stared at her. She looked into his eyes and whispered, The flame still burns. You don't understand now, but soon we will. Without another word, she turned and walked away. Elias stood alone in the corridor, still feeling the warmth of her touch on his arm. His heart beat faster, not from fear or love, but from something deeper. Something ancient had been awakened, and Elias Grant was now part of it. Elias Grant couldn't sleep. The image of Lady Thalira's kiss replayed in his mind again and again. It was not a kiss of romance. It was something else ancient, respectful, meaningful. But to him it was still confusing. He sat alone in his guest quarters on Orion's edge, staring at his arm. The tattoo of the flame didn't glow, didn't move, didn't change. It was still the same mark he had grown up with. His grandfather used to say, "This flame will guide you when you're lost." Elias had always thought it was just a story. Now he wasn't so sure. The next morning, the summit continued. The great hall was filled with ambassadors again, discussing trade, routes, defense plans, and ancient rivalries. Elias sat quietly, mostly ignored by the others. A few still looked at him like he didn't belong there, but one person was watching. Closely, she said nothing all morning, but her gaze kept returning to Elias. She was clearly thinking, perhaps unsure if she had made a mistake by revealing too much. Still, Elias stayed calm. He said nothing about the kiss. He didn't want to embarrass her or create more questions. After the session, Elias decided to take a walk again. The station had peaceful gardens filled with artificial sunlight, soft music, and trees from different planets. He liked this area. It reminded him of Earth. As he walked near a quiet fountain, he heard a familiar voice. "You should not show that symbol so freely." He turned. The Lyra stood under a tall, glowing tree, her arms folded. "I didn't show it on purpose," Elias replied. "My sleeve was just rolled up. It's always been there. I didn't know it meant anything too." "Anyone else?" Thalira looked at him carefully. "You carry more than you know, human. That symbol, it was once feared across the stars. It was also loved. It belonged to a race of warriors who fought not for power, but for truth." Elias frowned. "Mean humans? Or someone else?" She stepped closer, her voice low. "Perhaps your ancestors we do not know. The galaxy is old, Commander. Older than your records. There were times before the Council, before the current empires. Times lost in shadow." Elias nodded slowly. "And this flame of the first light? That's from those times?" "Yes," she whispered. "It was a mark of the flame-born protectors of peace. They stood between great powers and brought balance when war seemed certain. Then they vanished, or were destroyed." Elias looked at his arm again. The simple flame didn't look powerful, just old. "Why would my family have this?" he asked. "I don't know," she admitted. "But if what you carry is real, you are not safe." Elias tilted his head. "What do you mean?" Thalira took a breath. "There are some who fear the return of the Flameborn. They believe the flame brings war. They will silence anyone who carries it." "So why did you kiss me?" he asked, still confused. She looked into his eyes. "Among my people, a kiss to the arm is a vow of protection and honor. I gave it to you because I believe the flame has chosen you." Elias didn't know what to say. Before he could respond, a small orb floated toward them. A soft beep sounded. A message played. "All delegates, please return to the main chamber for the special council hearing." The Lyra's expression changed. "This is not normal. Something is happening." They both walked back to the main hall. Inside, the mood was different, tense, cold. An ambassador from the Rulok Empire stood at the center. His deep voice echoed. "Through the chamber, a matter of concern has been brought before us. It concerns the human commander, Elias Grant." Elias's heart began to race. Another alien stood. "We have seen a symbol on his body, one known from forbidden records. A symbol of the Flameborn." Elias stood tall, didn't hide anything. "It's just a tattoo, a family mark. Is that what you believe?" the Rulok ambassador said. "Or are you hiding your true nature?" Thalira rose. "This council should be careful. If the flame is returned, we must understand it, not fear it." The room grew quiet. Elias looked around, curious, suspicious. The same symbol that had been nothing his whole life now held great meaning in this place. It could make him a symbol of hope or a threat. He clenched his fists. He didn't ask for this. But now he had no choice. The flame had chosen him. "She saw the symbol on my arm, then suddenly kissed me." Elias sat alone in his quarters, staring at the wall. The council meeting had ended hours ago, but his mind was still spinning. He had come to Orion's Edge as a diplomat, just a voice from a young planet hoping to be heard now. He was something else. They had questioned him like a criminal. Not for something he did, but for something he carried. Symbol. A tattoo he had since childhood. Now the flame, it was no longer just a family mark. It was a key to something far older than Earth's history. A soft chime rang. His door slid open. Lady Thalira entered silently, her long robe flowing like water. "You are troubled," she said. Elias gave a small smile. "Hard not to be. Half the council thinks I'm a threat. The other half doesn't understand what you are," she replied. Elias sighed. "I don't understand either." Thalira stepped closer and sat across from him. Her eyes were calm but serious. "There's something I haven't shown you," she said. "Something hidden deep within the station. A place where history is not erased." Elias leaned forward. "What kind of place?" "A memory vault," she answered. "Created by the old Velari. It holds records too dangerous for the council to see. My ancestors saved them." Elias stood up. "Then take me there." The walk to the vault took time. Thalira led Elias through old, forgotten tunnels beneath the station. The walls were covered in dust, and the lights flickered with age. At the end of a long corridor, she pressed her palm to a hidden panel. The wall slid open, revealing a chamber filled with glowing crystals. Each one held fragments of memory, light, and sound. Thalira walked to one of the larger crystals and touched it gently. A beam of soft light rose from it, forming a floating image in the air. Elias saw tall figures, humanoid, proud, and strong. They wore simple armor, and the flame symbol burned bright on their chests. "These are the Flameborn," Thalira whispered. "They lived thousands of years ago. They were not just warriors. They were peacekeepers. When great powers fought, they brought justice. It's not by force, but by truth and courage." Elias watched in silence as the images shifted, battles ending with handshakes. Children being rescued, great empires bowing in respect to the Flameborn. "They sound like legends," he said. "They were real," Thalira replied, "until they became too powerful." The next images showed war, fire, betrayal. The Flameborn were hunted by those who feared them. Their records were erased, their people scattered. "And now," she said quietly, "you carry their symbol." Elias looked down at his arm. The tattoo was the same as the one in the images. It matched perfectly. "But how?" he asked. "Earth wasn't part of the galactic community until a few decades ago. It's not everything in your history was recorded truthfully," Thalira said. "It is possible the Flameborn escaped too. The far edges of the galaxy to your world may have lived, hidden, passed down their flame through blood." Elias felt a chill. His grandfather's stories. The strange dreams he used to have as a boy of stars, fire, and war. "Do others know about this vault?" he asked. "No," Thalira said, "and we must keep it that way. The council would destroy this place if they found it." Elias looked at the glowing crystal. "But the truth is here," as she said. "But truth can be dangerous." They stood in silence for a while. Then Elias turned to her. "What do I do now?" Thalira's voice was firm. "You protect the flame. You listen to it. You carry it forward, not with violence, but with honor." Elias nodded. He felt different now. Not confused, but clear. The symbol on his arm was more than a mark. It was a call to stand when others fall. A call to light the path when the way is dark. "I'm ready," he said. Thrua touched his arm again. "Then you are no longer just Elias Grant of Earth. You are the flame bearer." As they left the vault, the crystals behind them dimmed. But the flame inside Elias had only just begun to burn. The next day, the Great Hall of Orion's Edge was tense. A special session had been called by the High Council. Ambassadors from all 7 galactic powers were present. Security droids lined the walls. The air felt cold. Commander Elias Grant walked into the chamber with his shoulders back and head high. But inside he felt a storm. At his side was Lady Thalira, silent but strong. Her presence alone brought whispers. The Velari were known for their calm minds and deep wisdom, For her to stand beside a human during a time like this, it meant something. The council's central platform rose from the floor. A tall figure stepped forward. Ambassador Korak of the Rulok Empire. His voice echoed through the room. "Today we face a threat," he said. "One we believed had been erased from history. The flame has returned."
How murmurs spread through.
The crowd Korak pointed at Elias. "This human bears the mark of the Flameborn, a race that once disrupted balance across the galaxy. They brought fire in the name of peace, chaos in the name of justice." Elias didn't speak.
Not yet.
Another. Ambassador Lady Myrna of the Eltry raised a hand. "There is no proof he is part of that legend. The symbol could be coincidence." Thalira stepped forward. "It is not. I have seen the records. I have taken him to the vault." The hall gasped. "The vault," Korak growled. "That place was sealed for a reason. If those memories spread, it could shake the foundations of every empire in this room." Elias finally spoke. His voice was steady. "I didn't come here to shake anything," he said. "I came as a diplomat, as a voice for Earth. I didn't ask for this symbol to mean anything, but it does. And if it's connected to something greater, then I won't run from it." Korak sneered. "You speak like a Flameborn already." Elias took a breath. Maybe that's what this galaxy needs. The room went silent. He stepped closer to the center platform. "You all fear war. You gather here to protect peace. But peace doesn't survive in silence and fear. Sometimes it takes courage to speak the truth, even if it's uncomfortable." He held up his arm, showing the flame mark. "This symbol doesn't belong to just me. It belonged to people who stood between enemies and stopped battles before they began. You erased them because they stood for something stronger than politics. They stood for justice." An ambassador from the Athari race, whose face was hidden behind a golden mask, leaned forward. "If the flame returns, will you lead it? Will you become one of them?" Elias looked around the room. His heart beat hard, but his voice remained calm. "I don't know what I'll become. But I do know this. I won't be quiet while lies shape history. If the truth burns, then let it burn." Thalira placed her hand on his arm again. "He is not a weapon. He is a warning. A reminder that courage is not dead." Some ambassadors nodded quietly. Others frowned. The chamber was now split. Korak banged his staff on the ground. "This council must vote. Either we accept his presence and allow him to continue, or we remove him from the summit and send him back to Earth." Elias stood still. He expected this, maybe even welcomed it. Votes began. One by one, the ambassadors gave their answer. A few supported him. A few called for his removal. Some stayed quiet, unsure then. The vote reached a tie. It was now up to the high chair, an old wise being known as Velrose, who had not spoken since the summit began. Velrose slowly rose. His voice was soft but powerful. "I have watched this human. I have listened, and I have felt something that I thought was lost long ago." He looked at Elias. "Let the flame stay." The vote passed. Some ambassadors left the room in silence, clearly unhappy. Others remained, whispering among themselves. Elias walked out with Thalira. As the doors closed behind them, he let out a long breath. "I didn't expect that," he said. "You spoke from the heart," Thalira replied. "And hearts listen when truth is spoken." "But they won't stop here," Elias said. "Some of them want this symbol buried." Thalira nodded. "Then we must be ready. There are shadows moving now. Not everyone will accept your fire." Elias looked out the wide window into space. The stars seemed closer now, brighter. "I'm not afraid," he said quietly, and deep inside the flame burned stronger than ever. She saw the symbol on my arm, then suddenly kissed me. The artificial night had fallen on Orion's edge. The stars outside the station still burned bright, but inside everything felt cold and tense. Commander Elias Grant stood by the large window in his room, staring into space. Since the council vote, he had become the center of quiet attention. Some looked at him with hope, others with fear, a few with hate. He touched the flame symbol on his arm. It had never meant much before. Now it felt like a weight hand, a warning. Soft knock came at the door. He opened it and found Thalira, her expression serious. "We must leave," she said quickly. Now, Elias blinked. What happened? She stepped inside and lowered her voice. There was an explosion near the station's main power core. Several guards are injured. And someone planted evidence that points to you. Elias stepped back in shock. "That's not possible." "I know," Thalira said, "but not everyone cares about the truth. Some want to remove you quietly." Elias clenched his jaw. "So they blame me for the sabotage?" Thalira nodded. "If you stay here, they will arrest you. Maybe worse." He didn't hesitate. "Then let's go." They moved through the hidden tunnels beneath the station, the same ones that led to the memory vault. The halls were darker now. Some lights had gone out after the explosion. The silence felt dangerous. "We'll be safe in the vault," Elias asked. "For now," Thalira replied. "It's protected by old Valerie codes. No one else can enter without my signal." They reached the vault door. Thalira placed her palm on the scanner. The wall slid open. Inside, the crystals glowed softly as before. Elias stepped in and looked around. "This place holds the truth. Maybe it's time others saw it." Thalira shook her head. "Not yet. If the records spread now, the council might destroy them. We must be careful. We need allies first." Elias turned to her. "How do we find them?" Thalira walked to a nearby shelf. She touched one of the crystals and activated it. A new image appeared this time, a group of Flameborn standing with members of other ancient races. Among them, a Valerie elder, a Rulak warrior, and a human-like figure stood together. These were the First Circle, she explained, a group who once united the galaxy in peace. Each race chose one to carry the flame's light. Elias stared at the image. "So the flame wasn't just for humans?" "No," she said, "but humans carried it the longest. Your kind burned bright, even when the stars grew cold." The image faded. Suddenly, a sharp alarm echoed through the vault. A red light blinked on the wall. "They've found us," Thalira said quickly. Elias looked toward the door. "Can they get in?" "Not easily," she said. "But if they brought heavy tools or hacking tech, they will break through in time." Elias moved toward the center crystal, the largest one that held the oldest records. "What if we take this?" he asked. "Show it to the council in public. You can't ignore what's in here." Thalira hesitated. "It's dangerous, but it may be our only chance." She touched the crystal again. A small panel opened beneath it. Inside a sphere made of glowing glass floated gently. "This is the core memory," she said. "Take it." Elias lifted it carefully. It felt warm in his hands. Before they could move, the vault door shook. A heavy sound came from outside, metal tools grinding against the frame. "They're here," Leah said. Thalira tapped her communicator. "We have to go through the old service shaft." She opened a hidden panel in the wall. A narrow tunnel. Stretched forward, barely big enough for one person, they crawled through the darkness. The memory core held tightly in Elias's hands. The shaft led them through the station's underbelly past forgotten pipes, wires, and old machines. At last they reached a quiet storage bay. "We can access a maintenance ship from here," Thalira said. Elias nodded. "Then let's go. It's time we show the truth." As they climbed into the small ship, Thalira entered launch codes into the console. "Where will we go?" Elias asked. "To the neutral zone," she said. "There is a gathering soon. Not the full council, but many powerful leaders will be there. If we show them the memory, they may listen." Elias sat back and looked at the glowing sphere in his hands. He didn't know if they would believe him. He didn't know if the truth was enough, but he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't run from the flame. He would carry it forward into the shadows. Into danger, into history. The engines hummed, and the ship left the bay. Behind them, the station. Faded into the distance. Ahead of them, the stars waited. She saw the symbol on my arm, then suddenly kissed me. The stars stretched like silver lines as the small ship jumped out of warp. Ahead of them, a giant ring-shaped station floated in deep space, the Unity Spire. a neutral meeting place for galactic leaders. Inside the ship, Commander Elias Grant held the memory core tightly in his hands. The glow of the ancient device pulsed with a soft golden light. It held truths forgotten by the galaxy, hidden for thousands of years. Now he had to reveal them. Thalira guided the ship to the docking bay. Her voice was calm, but her eyes remained sharp. This gathering is unofficial, but many council members will be watching. If they see the memory, some may change their minds. Elias nodded. And the others? They'll try to stop us. The docking clamps locked into place. The ship's doors opened. Guards stood at the entrance, but they were not hostile. They had been sent to escort them to the central chamber. As Elias and Thalira entered the hall, dozens of leaders turned to look. Some whispered, others frowned. Ambassador. Korak was there, standing tall, his arms folded. His glare burned like fire. You dare return? He said. After running from Orion's edge like a thief? I didn't run, Elias replied calmly. I survived. Before anyone else could speak, Thalira stepped forward. We come. With truth that has been buried too long, she raised her hand, and Elias brought the glowing memory core into view. Gasps echoed through the hall. That's a vault relic, someone said. A lie, another muttered. Old stories to make the humans feel powerful? It's not a lie, Elias said. He stepped into the center of the room. This isn't about humans being stronger. This is about remembering what was lost. This flame, he said, raising his arm to show the tattoo, was never meant to divide us. It was meant to unite us. He placed the memory core on the platform. The sphere rose slowly, then opened like a flower of light. Holographic images filled the room, moving pictures from the past. The first circle appeared, Flameborn standing. With leaders from all races, the Valari, the Rulak, the Alari. Others long forgotten. A voice from the past echoed through the chamber. When fire meets wisdom, peace will bloom. When courage stands with truth, the stars will shine brighter. The hall was silent. Many stared in awe. Thalira looked around. This is who we were. This is who we can be again. Korak slammed his hand on the rail. These are illusions. Tricks. This so-called flame-bearer brings danger. War will follow him. No, Elias replied firmly. I didn't come here to start a war. I won't let fear erase what matters. He turned to the others. You all fear the return of the Flameborn, but ask yourselves, what did they really stand for? They didn't conquer. They protected. They stood between enemies and turned fire into light. One of the Athari leaders stepped forward. If this memory is real, then the Flameborn were guardians, not threats. Others began to nod slowly, but suddenly alarms rang through the chamber. Red lights flashed. A voice over the com shouted, Security breach. Unknown ships approaching. Korak's face twisted. You brought enemies with you? No, Thalira said sharply. They followed us. Elias looked at the guards. We have to protect this place. If the memory is destroyed, the truth dies again. Chaos broke out. Some ambassadors fled the chamber. Others stood their ground. Outside the station, dark ships moved into formation. Elias turned to Thalira. We have to buy time. She nodded, then let the flame rise. Elias activated his wrist console. Protective shield surrounded the memory core. Lara drew a small energy blade from her side Valary tech, elegant but deadly. Suddenly, the doors burst open. Armed attackers poured into the room, aiming straight for Elias. But he didn't run. He stood tall, blocking their path. I won't let you bury the truth. Thalira stood beside him. You'll have to go through both of us. Other guards joined them. So did a few brave ambassadors. Together, they pushed back the attackers. Protecting the memory core, blasts rang through the chamber, but Elias fought with calm strength. He was no trained warrior, but the flame guided him. Move felt right. Every choice felt clear. The attackers slowly fell back. One of them dropped a weapon and whispered, The flame, it's real. At last, silence returned. The chamber was a mess smoke, sparks and fallen debris. But the core still glowed. Ilias walked to the center and spoke. You tried to stop this, but the fire has returned. You can't silence it anymore. I am human, but I carry something older than Earth, a flame that belongs to all of us. The leaders looked at him with new eyes, not as a threat, but as a symbol. The Lyra stepped beside him and placed her hand over his. The flame is not just alive, she said. It has chosen a bearer. She saw the symbol on my arm then, suddenly kissed me. The smoke still floated in the chamber. Pieces of the ceiling had fallen. Sparks blinked from damaged walls. But the heart of the room, the ancient memory, core still glowed with golden light. Commander Elias Grant stood in silence, his chest rising and falling. Around him, the last few attackers had been pushed back or captured. Those who remained. In the hall, ambassadors, guards, and leaders stared at him with wide eyes, not as an enemy, but as something more. The Lyra stood beside him, calm and proud. A faint bruise showed on her cheek, but her eyes were steady. Her voice rose clearly across the room. The flame is no longer a story. It is alive, and it has returned with a name. All eyes turned to Elias. He looked around, then spoke slowly and clearly. I never asked for this symbol to mean anything. On Earth, it was just a family mark, but now I understand. It was a message, a seed, waiting to grow. He stepped forward. The Flameborn didn't rule by fear. They stood between fear and hope, not to take power, but to protect those who had none. Some council members exchanged quiet glances. Others nodded slightly, their faces thoughtful. Lady Myrna of the Eltery stepped forward. What do you want, Commander Grant? Elias took a breath. I don't want to control anyone. I want the truth to live again. I want the flame to be shared not as a weapon, but as a symbol, a reminder that we are stronger when we protect each other. He looked at the shattered ceiling. We were almost destroyed today, not by humans, not by aliens, but by silence, by fear. That must end now. The tall figure of High Chair Velro stepped forward, walking slowly on his staff. His voice was soft but clear. The flame once united the galaxy. Now we have seen it with our own eyes. The past has returned not to rule us, but to guide us. He turned to the room. Let a new council be formed, one that includes Earth. Let the flame be its symbol not of fire, but of light. Applause rose across the chamber. Some, like Korak, remained silent and cold. But others, many others, stood to clap. The Lyra turned to Elias. You have done what no one else could. He smiled, though his shoulders were heavy from battle. Not alone. You believed when no one else did. She stepped closer. The kiss I gave you. It was a vow. I didn't expect the flame to answer it. Elias chuckled softly.
Neither did I.
Outside the station, the stars still burned bright. Ships from many worlds began to send messages of support. Some who had feared the flame now asked for guidance, for help, for unity. Within hours, a new summit was planned, one where all species would be equal. Earth would have a voice. And Elias, now known across systems as the Flame Bearer, would lead its delegation. But he didn't lead alone. Beside him stood the Lyra, now more than just a Valari noble. She was seen as the keeper of memory, the one who protected the truth. Together, they traveled from world to world, sharing the ancient knowledge. The story of the Flameborn spread again not as legend, but as inspiration. On many planets, young children began drawing the flame symbol. Some wore it on clothes, others carved it into stone. They didn't fully understand it, but they felt it. Hope, courage, unity. One evening, long after the fires of war had cooled, Elias stood on a balcony, overlooking a new council hall. The stars shimmered quietly above. Thalera joined him, carrying 2 cups of warm tea. You should rest, she said gently. I know, Elias replied, taking the cup. But sometimes I wonder what my grandfather would say if he saw this. He'd be proud, she said. You carried his flame farther than he ever could have imagined. He looked down at his arm. The symbol hadn't changed, but it felt brighter now, more alive. This was never just about one human, he said. It was about all of us. The Lyra touched his hand. And now, thanks to you, stars have a guardian again. They stood together in silence as the stars blinked in the sky, far below. The flame symbol now shone on the great flag of the new United Council, and across the galaxy, the fire that had almost died was burning once more. Not in weapons, not in fear, but in hearts